Hello and welcome back to the Growing Wild Studios YouTube channel. My name is Cindy and I'm the maker here on this channel. Today I am going to try out weaving for the very first time. I'm going to backtrack that a little bit. I was exposed to weaving by my grandma when I was younger. She had two very large floor looms and I did start a project on it, but I have not retained any of that information. But on the yarn crawl, I did go to the Weaver House in South Philly. And it really kind of reinvigorated my interest in the craft. So I did purchase a small kit just to kind of see if I would be interested in it, get a small taste for it before I decided to invest in maybe a table size loom or even one of my grandma's larger floor looms. So today I'm going to try out the kit. It came with a pattern from the Weaver House. Since it was exclusive to the crawl, I'm not going to be sharing a lot about the step-by-step process. But I will be kind of talking about my experience, how I'm feeling about it, if I feel like it's something I can and want to continue to do. But that's it for the intro. I'm gonna, get into it and bring you along. All right, I am pushing out this. Oh goodness. I am pushing out the pieces for the loom right now, and I think you can tell I'm a little bit nervous about this. I know it's the right thing, but it feels like not the right thing. But there we go. That looks like what it's supposed to for the most part. Then I'm gonna pop out these pieces here. I do not know what they are yet. Goodness, this is scary. Okay, this is a little easier. Beautiful. I believe these are needles. Great. Oh. I'm just going to pop out one of the needles for now. I think I only will need one. So I just don't want to pop out a ton and then immediately lose them. Okay. Okay, that was a little scary, but I think we're good. Okay, yeah, I think the rest of these are just needles. So I'm going to put them to the side for now. Okay, there is a tutorial video included, and I think this is where we start. I'm just going to open up the thread and continue with the tutorial. All right, the tutorial says that I don't have to unravel it, like I don't have to unspool it. Please excuse a little kitty in the background. She thinks it's lunchtime and it's not. But I should be able to find the end of this in whole. Okay, here's the end. I think. We're not gonna pull it that hard. Okay. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it wants us to do this. That is super easy. Okay, so we are, I believe the term she used was warping the loom. So this is a strong cotton yarn that I'm putting on the loom, basically. Yeah, that's basically it. I keep wanting to wrap it like all the way around, like like you're wrapping it around your fingers. But I'm wrapping it around kind of the tiny little spindles so that all of the threads are in the front rather than the back. Or some in the front and some in the back. I'm glad I really listened to this tutorial because pulling the thread this way versus what I was immediately going to do and unravel it from the top, is actually really cool because I think like at first I had to stop and unravel a little bit more, but now that I've got it going, it's basically kind of unspooling on its own. So that was good to see. I know not um, every cotton is gonna be like that. This was a bundle specifically made for the kit. Um, but it made this very this first time experience very easy. And now I've got it totally done. So I've got everything wrapped around. And I imagine the next step is putting another knot in it and up here. We will see. Okay, so I just continued on in the tutorial a little bit. And something I thought about when I was first doing this was that they said the tension is important. So I am going to go back and redo a little bit of this. Um, just to have the practice, make sure I'm paying attention to actually what the tension is while I'm doing it, even if it's, just about the same. Okay, so what I just did really was um, basically making space um, between the threads. So I wove over under in order to put some pressure between. So there's front string and then there's like back string. So I assume that is to make it easier um, to weave the thread through. Okay, so basically what I just did is I put 2 lines of yarn through. Um, and basically how the loom is designed is that when you're using your dominant hand to go one way, you're doing the opposite of how this was put in place. So I did over, under up here. I'm doing under, over, down here. And then you saw me pull this down, flip it up. That was so when you're using your non-dominant hand, you are basically just pulling it through because you're doing the opposite of what you did at the bottom. Basically, you want to make a loop around the side string so that way, like if I was to go over this again, it would pull through and like miss that side. Um, so basically, I am going to continue with the pattern just a little bit until we get to some of the curved parts. Okay, so something I guess I am learning is that um there are still ends to weave in, which I guess there will never be ends that we will miss. But basically it's a little bit easier because you're just kind of gonna stick them into the project and kind of weave, I don't say over them, but basically you're putting the next line of yarn over it so it gets, tightened as you're like pushing it down. So I'm using my needle to kind of go, over under. And that's just because I find it to be kind of a little bit easier. So I just cut it, even though we're going to use, the same yarn. I'm being told to do left from right. So we're going to start over. All right, so I stopped recording for a little bit just because I needed to really pay attention to the tutorial. But basically what I did here was we're kind of building up a little bit here and then going back and forth across to make these different shapes. There are more technical terms for what it's called, but one, don't remember. Slash the numbers feel a little wibbly wobbly timey wimey to me. So I'm seeing the numbers of the pattern. I'm hearing what the woman is saying, but I think like in my brain it's remembering it a different way. But basically we're just, building up the thread to make different shapes. One last thing I want to talk about. They mentioned wanting to kind of keep the tension on the sides pretty even. I think the one on this side is pretty good. This one I know I'm starting to kind of dip in a little bit, but I think I've adjusted up here. But so far so good. They mentioned, and I kind of thought before they said that kind of how you're pushing down will also affect the shape of this. Um, so even though, it's a pattern, like in crochet and knitting, it feels like every time you make a pattern, it's supposed to look pretty much exactly the same, and it should be pretty much, exactly the same from person to person. Again, depending on, your own personal tension. But here, like this shape might be a little bit different. I have a feeling that in more traditional, very straight across um, weaving, that is not the case. So, like some people might have a little bit of a larger mound here. This might be a little bit smaller, etc., etc. Um, but I like that, especially on the very first one, just because it means like I don't have to do something exactly the right way. Kind of when I switched to working this mound, I feel like this area got messed up a little bit. But because of like how this pattern goes, I feel like it's not super noticeable. You're able to kind of make it up as you go, or like change things as you go and adjust a little bit. So I'm gonna continue. I think I'm gonna just show, like I said, a little cozy along, or a cozy crochet, whatever, weave along with me. But that's basically what's going on. I think I'm excited to get into this, and I think I'll see you on the other side once I'm all done, or any, notable points. All right, so it's the end of the day, and I am happy to say that I have a completed little project. I really sat down and I just kind of went through. Once I went through the tutorial, and you kind of went through me as I did like this bottom navy section. Once I got through that and kind of got the gist of how the different shapes were made, I really kind of I didn't have to follow along with the tutorial. It felt very much like, okay, this is how my brain is interpreting the directions. And it felt very, I got the gist of it basically. So even though I don't think how my brain interpreted it was exactly how the proper way to do it was, in a sense of like on the color schematic, there were definitely like build this many rows and then do this with the curves. Um, I don't know if it was exactly like that, but I think like I got the gist of what it was trying to do. And did, obviously I achieved something that looks very similar. So I think that's okay, basically, because there's no really right way or wrong way. It's just how what might be traditionally done and what might be, your way. So I did really enjoy the process. So some things that I learned, really I think like my biggest thing was tension, which I think is going to be the biggest thing to learn in any fiber art. They definitely mentioned like, hey, make sure you're keeping the sides, kind of straight, make sure you're not pulling in too much. And I think like even on the loom, I knew that I wasn't perfect at it, but I thought it was, pretty decent. I still think it was pretty decent. But really kind of that pulling in, you can see where like right here, it's pulling in a lot. And then it kind of makes it a little bit wavy up here, and same thing kind of on this side too. I think this side's a little bit better, but um, I'm pretty happy with it. I think overall, like it's not, super wavy. I think I'm gonna put it on my wall and like a gallery wall, and still be pretty happy with it. I think like as a first attempt, um, I'm very happy with it. And then really, I was a little bit worried that I might not have enough yarn or I'd have way too much yarn of the colors. But really the only extra I had was this little blue piece that I'm using as like a hanger for it. Um, so I was really happy to see that I kind of picked up on the technique, kind of understood what was going on, and then, was able to make some good decisions based on it. How do I see myself kind of incorporating weaving into the future? Like I mentioned already, I don't think it's going to become a huge craft, a huge fiber art in my life. But I do really like it. And I think it can be kind of meditative. It can be kind of a nice smaller project, a day, weekend project if it's something that you fancy. But I think where I see it as a potential for me is kind of incorporating scrap yarn. So I'm someone who like really can't let go of like teeny tiny little balls. So I have a collection of little balls, and like there's something in the back of my mind that I have them for. But at the same time, sometimes there's nice hand dyed yarn want to that I don't want to use for a silly reason. So for example, I had a pack of hand dyed Wicked inspired yarn that I used for a project. I don't really have enough to make another thing with it, but I have not a lot, but I have enough left over that I don't want to get rid of it. So I think this could be a really good option for it. I don't know if I'm going to use it to make the squiggles and the shapes. I might just kind of put it in order and, use it to do, more straight across. Or if I do shapes, it might be just waves kind of rolling over each other rather than anything with the lines and stuff. But I think that could be a really good use of yarn that is not ready to be recycled or not ready to be done with or thrown away, but isn't, maybe enough for a full project, even a small project like a hat. So that's something I really find an interest in, and I think that I'll continue to use it in that sort of way. I'm going to hold it up one more time for everyone to see. Um, Thank you guys so much for coming along on this journey with me. I really enjoy trying out new different fiber arts. I think I'm going to continue to do so on this channel. So Again, thank you for everyone who watched along. I hope you enjoyed the journey, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!